Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first video on this channel. And for the first video, I decided why not go over something simple, something I think a lot of people can find very useful. Tech, specifically tech that you need to have in your Airbnb unit, stuff that I have in all of my units to maximize convenience, to maximize security, and of course maximize profits. Everything I talk about in this video, I'm gonna have linked in the comment section, not in the description below. So if there's anything that you find interesting that you want to add, not only to your Airbnb units, but to your own house as well, feel free to check out the description. Those are all affiliate links. So if you do use those links to purchase, it does help me out a lot. Thank you so much. God bless. God bless. God bless. So the first, now it is a little dirty here. I got my phone. This is important because all of these pieces of technology link to my phone, and I'm gonna get into why that's important a little bit later in this video. I also have the Pepsi. You already know we refreshed. You know what I'm saying? Very nice. If you are watching this video and you're only going to purchase one piece of technology that I show you guys, it needs to be this. The August smart lock, or any smart lock for that matter. And there's a few reasons why this is one of the most important things to get for your Airbnb units. Reason number one, self check-in. A smart lock is going to allow you to add self check-in to your Airbnb listing, and that is super important. Some people don't understand the value of being able to add that. Before we had smart locks, we would get a ton of clients reach out to us before they booked, asking us if they can self check-in, and when we said no, they would usually not complete their booking. This happened a lot. When we added this and we added the self check-in to the listing itself, the bookings come flying in. People love it. It doesn't mean that these people are criminals. All it means is people want to be able to conveniently enter without having to meet somebody and talk to somebody, see somebody. People don't like that. So this makes letting people in, first of all, it lets you add self check-in to your unit. And reason number two it's so important is because it makes check-in super convenient. All we do when a guest wants to check into the unit, or when a guest books, we ask them for their phone number. When we get their phone number, we simply send them an invite to the app and to download the app. And when they do, on the list to be able to get access to the unit. Now, August has its own app. Looks like this. This is one of my units. This big red button means that the door right now is closed and locked. If I tap this button, the door is automatically gonna open. There's a guest there right now, so I'm not gonna do that. It's also 12:49 a.m. I'm not gonna do that. As soon as they arrive, because as soon as the check-in time has come, they're able to immediately lock and unlock the door. So being able to let guests check themselves in has obviously tons of convenience to it. And number three, it's super important, is because it has an activity log. It lets you know exactly when guests open and close the door. And not just guests, I'm able to, as the owner, I'm able to see when my property managers are exiting and entering the unit, when they remotely open it and when they manually open it. I'm also able to see the same for guests. We're able to see when guests manually open and unlock the door, because it still allows you to do it manually, but we're also able to see when they do it remotely. So when they're not in the unit, but for some reason guests are unlocking and locking the door. For example, you know, if it's like 12:30, if it's midnight and the guests open and close the door 25 times within the hour, we know there's a party going on. And usually on nights like those, the property managers are not sleeping, because we got to be on high alert watching the noise levels. I'll get into this one a little bit later, but we want to make sure that, you know, we're on top of things. We make sure nothing gets out of hand. And so this really gives us a lot of convenience. Like I mentioned, it adds security because we're in the know of exactly who's opening and closing the door, and it increases profits because we're able to add the self check-in to our Airbnb listing and it, you know, feature it in that way. This costs about $300, so it's on the more expensive side. It's not super cheap, but prices have fallen, so you can still getting in the 200s now. Adapters for all kinds of fits. It fits on the inside of your door, kind of like that, so no one on the outside is going to be able to tell. Now, I will say, because I'm not sponsored by August, although it would be super cool, but this lock has failed me one time in the past. Now, with technology comes a lot of convenience, but there's a chance of things failing, and it has failed one time. 10 p.m. In Toronto, one of the guests was out. They come back home at 10, and their app isn't working. Like the red button isn't showing up. It's like not connecting, and so the guest reaches out to us, and they're like, "Hey, like I can't get in." And so we're here. We try to open up the door, and it's not letting us open up the door either. It says not connected, lock not connected, and so that means that the Wi-Fi went down. We checked the Wi-Fi because we have other things that are linked to the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi did not go down. So the lock actually failed or had a hiccup or something. Luckily, we give every guest a physical key. So we do leave a physical key inside the unit. And so the first time the guest checks in, it's going to be through the app. But then after that, I'm sorry I held this so weirdly. But then every time after that, the guest does have a physical key, and I have a copy. My property managers have a copy of the key, and the guest gets a copy of the key as well, just in case stuff like that happens. Now, one of the important reasons I mentioned Wi-Fi is invest in a good Wi-Fi router setup. My properties are in apartment buildings, they're in condos, so it's easy to get Wi-Fi, and I can get really good Wi-Fi as well to keep everything connected at all times. And also with my Wi-Fi provider, I get Netflix, so I also give that as a service offering in my Airbnb units. So it's definitely a good idea to invest in a top-notch Wi-Fi router modem setup so that all of these devices can operate at their best. So disclaimer, it has failed me one time. It was a simple fix, but still a lifesaver, an absolute lifesaver, and something, if you're gonna have one thing, it's gotta be a smart lock on your property. Here, product placement with I'm not getting paid. Next, it's gonna be this, the MINUT or MINUT, I'm sorry, noise decibel recorder. Noise monitor, that's right. Do not ever say recorder on your Airbnb listing, because that means that you're recording noise, and people don't like that. I don't think you're even allowed to be able to record noise on your property. It shouldn't be allowed, basically. For a business like mine, for an Airbnb business like mine, where most of the Airbnbs are condo units and people are living right next to each other, noise is an integral factor of whether I'm able to continue business or not. Too many noise complaints, and the building is going to make me shut down the operation. If I shut down the operation, I still own these units, I got to pay mortgage, but I can no longer bring money in through the Airbnb. So noise is super important to get under control, and devices like these definitely help us be able to do that. If we didn't have this, then there's no way we know who's getting rowdy and what kind of parties are happening. So there's a few, I'm using MINUT, there's another brand as well that is very reputable. It's called Noise Aware. I don't personally use their products, I just don't have them. I'm in the MINUT ecosystem now. This is also a Wi-Fi connected device just like this, so it connects to your Wi-Fi in the unit. Another reason to have an amazing Wi-Fi access. It also connects to your phone. And so what we do with this is we place it, and I've shown this unit product in my furnishing video. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely go check it out. I'll have it linked here when it's available. I filmed it, I just haven't edited it yet. It's a much longer video, but I show where we place this. Generally, I like to place these noise monitors between the kitchen and the living room, a high traffic area between, so it can be like the dining room or something like that. Just between the kitchen and the living room, we like to put this device, generally on the roof. And so we're able to monitor how loud it's getting. Now this device lets you set a level for alerts. I've set it up at 75 decibels. 75 decibels is about as loud as a vacuum cleaner. We do not want the noise in the unit to ever get louder than that. And so it's already set up, and anytime the noise in the unit goes above that 75 decibel line, immediately get a notification on my phone that them people getting rowdy. You know what I'm saying? And so when that happens, the property managers, they text on Airbnb chat, they let the guests know, hey, you're being very loud, there are noise complaints being filed, please, you know, calm down. And if the guest doesn't respond, or if the noise doesn't go down, we call them and we're like, guys, you really have to, you know, quiet down because there's noise complaints coming in. And obviously this is all to prevent noise complaints from coming in, because then the guest has to pay the fine, which is $350. But even more than that, we get another noise complaint as like a company that's operating in this building. And as those rack up, we can be disqualified from doing any more Airbnb, and that's big. It's a preventative measure. And if you're operating in apartment buildings or condo buildings, or even houses in a smaller community, having things like, or a closer community, having a device like this is going to be integral, because I know for a fact even houses can, you know, you can get stopped by the homeowner association, you know, and they can come out with saying, you know, you do Airbnbs and you're way too loud, and then people getting rowdy, and the old people can't sleep at night even though you're making bank. What are you gonna do now? You gotta close down. So having something like this, preventative, definitely recommend. This is why it's number 2 on the list. Number 3, I can't actually show you because I don't have it on me. I'm just gonna show you a box for it. How classy is this? Contact sensors. Contact sensors are basically a magnetic adhesive sort of device. Every time the door opens and the one of the contact sensors moves away, it lets you know that the door is opened. And I'm actually getting such notifications. You definitely can't see that. It's 1:03 a.m. now. So basically, it tells me when doors are being opened and closed. This tells me when the main door is being opened and closed, and who's opening and closing it, and when it's being opened and closed. But these contact sensors, I can put them on any window or any door or patio or cabinet in the house. So for me, I use the contact sensors on the storage unit. In all of my apartments, we have one closet space that's designated for cleaners. So that's the place that the cleaners are going to use, and it's going to be locked. So all the extra towels, all the extra soaps, all the extra linens and things like that, we keep in this unit and we lock it. And only the cleaner has access to that unit, and myself, of course. So when the cleaner gets to the unit, the property manager doesn't call me. Like, they don't tell me, hey, the cleaner's here, I'm gonna open the unit. No, okay, they hear the cleaner's here, they're gonna open the unit for them from the app itself. But when the cleaner gets in, they need to access the cleaner closet to be able to get the vacuums and things like that out. And so every time the cleaner opens the storage room, I get an alert. And that basically tells me that, okay, the cleaner is here and they're working. I want to be in the know as an owner of all things that happen in my property, and that's why I use the contact sensors, as I'm able to see exactly what doors are being opened, and when the cleaner is there, I'm able to see, you know, make sure that the cleaner is using the storage room, and when they leave, they have to lock the room so that guests don't have access to it. And so, you know, I'm able to make sure that during a guest stay, the storage room isn't being used. It's just me being super, I don't know what the term is, but that's how I use contact sensors. A lot of people, for example, if you Airbnb a much larger house, or even for your own house, put them in your windows, put them on your patios, put them on your doors, and, you know, attic, whatever it might be. It's just added security, especially if the property is vacant and a window opens. You call the police ASAP right then and there. So it's definitely a security feature, and it also helps me stay in the know without having to bother people. Like, I'm not gonna call the property manager and be like, hey, is the cleaner there? And they're not gonna call me every time the cleaner comes. It allows me to, you know, keep up to date on everybody coming in and out of the unit without having to bother anybody. So I guess there's that convenience involved as well. So highly recommend. That's why it's my number 3. Number 4, this is a Chromecast. I also have Fire TV. I also have smart TVs that don't need any of that. You need to be able to provide entertainment. This is something I talked about in my furnishing video, where in 2020 and 2021, the Airbnb itself was becoming the end destination, as to where before Airbnbs were more of like that intermediary. It was just a place for guests to stay and then move on with their trip to the actual destination. During the lockdowns, the Airbnb was the final destination, and so you had to make sure that the entertainment, that the activities, there was something for the guests to do for the duration of their stay to have a lot of fun. And so making sure you have smart TV or Netflix or something enabled, YouTube and stuff like that for guests to use is super important. If you have cable in your unit, okay, but add more. Okay, add a Fire Stick, add a Chromecast or something like that. Get a smart TV, make it more. Give guests Netflix, give guests YouTube, at least those two. So a smart TV or one of these little add-ons is my fourth, or is that fifth? No. Yeah, it's my fourth. So that's my fourth highest recommended thing, is get some sort of form of entertainment. More than just this, I put my units, I have foosball, I have pool, I have board games, I have weightlifting and like weights and yoga mats and all kinds of stuff, so that guests can keep active and have all kinds of activity, like mini golf, and literally I have all of that so that guests have those activities to be able to do during their stay. A final piece of tech that I recommend having, and the one that I don't have here or in any of my units, is a weed detector or a smoke detector. I don't know if one's available right now. If you can search and if you can find one, leave a link in the comments below, because people look for this all the time. We have a fine if you smoke in the unit. It's $300. But the hard part is enforcing that fine. We need solid, conclusive evidence that this guest was smoking during their period in our unit to be able to really bust the guest and enforce a fine. With smoking, if the guest cleans up after themselves, aside from the cleaner immediately smelling the smoke in the air and it being in all of the upholstery and stuff like that, there's no conclusive proof, and so we cannot really enforce the fine. What happened recently with one of my guests was they checked out, cleaner came in, found a box of weed, found cocaine all over the granite countertop in our kitchen, and so they were having a field day with the pictures because we knew we got this guy, like we got him. And you have to understand, like, I don't feel sorry for anybody. Our cleaner now has to clean out the entire room. It has to air out all that smell. They have to clean the sofas, the beds, because that smell gets into all the linens and people notice. They have to clean up after, the guests left, basically all of their drugs. And they have to do that, plus clean out the entire unit in 4 hours before the next guest arrives. I don't feel bad for enforcing a fine. You shouldn't either, because there is damage happening now to your unit, and extra time and extra effort required in cleaning. So I do sympathize more with my cleaners than my druggy guests that break the rules. Guests agree to a rule before they get in, and so they should follow those rules. What a weed or smoke detector would be able to do is be able to provide you with conclusive evidence that this guest actually smoked in the unit. Trust me, the amount of people that smoke in the units knowing full well that they're not allowed to smoke is beyond me. It's insane. Having a device that can provide you conclusive evidence that a guest was smoking in the unit, that device is gonna pay you dividends. Even if it was $500, I would buy it, because a fine for one person for smoking is $300. That's gonna go like to thousands in 1 month, just because people smoke like crazy. And especially in Toronto and Ontario, where weed is legal, they're doing it and leaving it in the sofas, under the sofas. And again, cleaners have to get all of this, because we're not gonna open the doors to a guest and they're gonna walk in, smell smoke, have weed stuck in the sofas. There's kids, there's other guests who for religious reasons don't do any of that stuff. It's not cool to do, and having a detector like that is gonna pay you big bucks. So profitability is big, security is big, and it's convenience, because you don't have to go finding for these drugs now. It's a lot easier to set up a whole resolution and claim with Airbnb to get your money back, because you have conclusive evidence of the smoking happening in your unit. With that being said, guys, I guess the only honorable mention I have is a Wi-Fi and a router. Make sure you have a really good one, because the smart TV obviously connects with Wi-Fi, the contact sensors connect with Wi-Fi, the smart lock connects with Wi-Fi, and the noise devices also connect with Wi-Fi. So having an amazing Wi-Fi is going to allow all these to work the best possible. And of course, keep you up to date with all the things that are going on in your unit, and keep you laid back back relaxed and watching the show. You know, yeah, that's the whole point. You want to rake the money, you want to make the money come in. And we want to make money as easy as possible. So with that being said, guys, if you guys learned anything or if any of these devices are of interest and you have questions, feel free to comment down below. Please do consider liking and subscribing. It's going to really help me out, especially because this is a new channel. And what we're going to be talking about on this channel, primarily we're going to talk about real estate, Airbnbs, and other ways to make money from your real estate, and also how to furnish real estate. It's my main business. We also talk about productivity and productivity hacks. Before this, I was a chairman, so I know a little bit about time management, a little tiny bit. And we're going to talk about technology, kind of like in this video where we fuse technology and real estate to kind of bring you guys the most inconvenience, security, and profitability. With that being said, guys, I hope you learned something new. I definitely did. It's that this is my first video and I don't know what I'm talking about. So any comments and any suggestions as to how I can make my videos better or what you would like to see next, feel free to leave in the comments below as well. I will go through all of them, especially because I have a whole 2 subscribers right now. But with that being said, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.